You've probably heard it your entire life. You're too sensitive. You need to toughen up. Stop taking everything so personally. You've likely spent years apologizing for your tears, for feeling too much, for not being able to shut emotions off the way other people seem to do so easily. But today, I need you to hear this clearly. The diagnosis you were given was wrong. There is nothing broken about you. You are not weak, and you are definitely not a mistake. In psychology, people like you are often labeled as highly sensitive, but I prefer a different term. You are a super sensor. While most people experience the world in standard definition, your brain records reality in something closer to 8K. And today, we're going to break down why your sensitivity is not a flaw, but a high-performance system that this world desperately needs. To understand yourself, you have to start here. This isn't a personality issue. It's biology. Research shows that your brain processes information in a fundamentally different way than about 80% of the population. Think of the human brain like a camera. Most people are running on something like 720p. It's efficient. It conserves energy. It gets the job done. But your brain doesn't operate like that. Your brain records everything in ultra-high resolution. Neuroscience has identified 3 key hardware differences that explain why life feels so intense for you. First, your brain has very little filtering. Scientists call this low latent inhibition. Most brains automatically ignore around 90% of incoming information to save energy. Background noise, subtle movements, tiny emotional shifts, all filtered out. But your brain doesn't do that. The texture of the chair you're sitting on, the hum of a refrigerator, the emotional tone of the person next to you. It all comes in at once. That's why you get overwhelmed more easily. But it's also why you notice beauty, patterns, and solutions that everyone else completely misses. Second, your mirror neurons are highly active. Mirror neurons are what allow humans to empathize. But for you, empathy isn't just cognitive. When someone else is sad, you don't just understand it. You feel it in your own body. This isn't imagination. Your brain is literally simulating the emotional state of the people around you. You're an emotional sponge in a world that spills constantly. Third, and most misunderstood, your depth of processing. Psychologists sometimes call this the pause to check strategy. In conversations or decision-making moments, you may feel slower than others, like you hesitate too much, like you overthink. But here's the truth. You're not slow. You're thorough. While others react to what's right in front of them, your brain connects the present moment to past experiences, predicts future outcomes, and analyzes the meaning beneath the words. You don't hesitate because you're confused. You hesitate because your brain is running a complex internal simulation to choose the best possible outcome. That's not a flaw. That's high-level computation. Now here's the question most people never ask. If sensitivity makes life harder, why didn't evolution eliminate it? If it were a weakness, natural selection would have erased it thousands of years ago. But it didn't, because the tribe needed you. In early human societies, the bold, less sensitive individuals were essential for hunting and fighting. But a tribe made up of only warriors doesn't survive. It rushes into danger without thinking. The group also needed advisors, people who noticed the weather changing before the storm, people who sensed deception before the attack. That role belonged to you. What you've been taught to see as a weakness was actually a highly sophisticated early warning system. The problem is that modern society is loud, fast, and aggressive. It's built for warriors. So it makes sense that you often feel out of place. But being out of place is not the same as being without value. Because you process everything so deeply, you hit your limits faster. When you suddenly shut down or need darkness, silence, or isolation, you're not being dramatic. Your system is simply full. Here's a powerful metaphor psychologists use. Most people are like dandelions. resilient, able to grow almost anywhere. But you're an orchid. In a harsh, noisy, or toxic environment, you'll struggle. And for years, you probably blamed yourself for that. But research describes something called vantage sensitivity. When an orchid is placed in the right environment, with the right light, the right care, it doesn't just survive. It blooms with a complexity and beauty that the dandelion will never reach. You don't need thicker skin. You need a different environment. When you build a life that supports your sensitivity, you don't just catch up to others, you surpass them. So stop trying to shut yourself down. You can't change your biology, and you shouldn't want to. The world already has enough numbness. What it lacks is your ability to feel. Protect your gift. Set boundaries. Honor your need for quiet. And the next time someone tells you, you're too sensitive, pause and remember the truth. You don't have a defect. You're just seeing the world in 8K. And in a world that's becoming increasingly disconnected, your ability to feel is not a burden. It's what makes you human.